Hello and welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. My name is Wanaka Oberhuber, and I'm your host. Today with me I have Jenny Donner. Hello.
Hi, Wanako.
Yay, it's working. So, we have joined here to go deep with the teachings of A Course in Miracles. And Jenny Donner is a woman who has gone through a lot of experiences with the Course and will tell us about how she came to the Course, what it changed in her life, and how she went deeper from there. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Wanako, for having me. This is beautiful. I hope you can hear me. I did put in my headset.
I hear you this time.
Perfect.
Everything's perfect.
Excellent. Yeah, I came to the Course, it came to me in 2005 when I sensed there was something much deeper, that I met someone who I could sense she had this experience of being connected to spirit. And I was prompted to ask her for something to read. And she mentioned some spiritual books, and I just said, no, that's not it. And then I said, is there something else? And she said, well, there is only A Course in Miracles then. And when she said the name of the book, I knew that was it. I could feel it intuitively. That is what I need to read. So I ordered it, and once it came, I just couldn't stop reading it. It was so helpful. It was immensely helpful for me, just because I had been praying so much for a higher wisdom, and for the true spiritual teaching, because I had been a Christian, and it wasn't enough. So here, Course in Miracles just came in with all the answers. So at that time, I was studying to become a psychologist, but when the Course came in, I just studied the Course. I read it day and night. I basically ate and slept with the Course day in and day out, and the psychology studies came on the back burner for me at that time. Because the Course was just the real psychology. It was just answering so deeply all the questions that I had. It was, I cried out of appreciation and gratitude that the answers had come and that I was ready to receive them.
Yes. That's very good. Yeah, I also have the feeling that the Course is the deep psychology.
Yeah.
And it actually undoes a lot of these, how do you call it, discrepancies that you feel when you look at psychology from various perspectives that are offered.
Yeah, I choose psychology because I wanted to understand the mind and go deeper, but I was surprised at how surface level of knowledge and teaching was there. It wasn't even touching on our mind and the depth of the mind and how it works. It was just, I don't know. It was just not on that level. So yeah. So the Course,
So the Course offered you the ahas that you didn't find when reading psychological papers and books.
Yeah. I did finish my first year of the program. The psychology program is like 4 years long, 4 or 5. But so after the first year, I dropped out of it in a guided way. So that, then my big transformational experience began after I quit everything, basically. I don't know if you want me to dive into that experience too. right away? Or
I think it would be nice to know how the course impacted your life and where you were at and what it did and what you
yeah,
did with what was offered you from Spirit.
yeah. So after only having read it for about half a year, I got so inspired to explore who else is who else knows about this book, because it was just me and the book for all those months. And then I realized I wanted to find other people who had experienced A Course in Miracles. So I put it in my browser. I lived in Sweden, and so I searched for Swedish companions or Swedish people who were into Course in Miracles, and I didn't find a Swede. I found an American named David Hoffmeister, and what came up was the first thing that came up online as I searched was a picture of David Hoffmeister and the message saying David Hoffmeister is coming to Sweden in July.
That's funny. What
Yeah.
a coincidence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was just amazing. And Spirit was so clear saying to me, you're going to go and see him. And, let's not waste time. We bring you a very clear teacher right off the bat. You don't need you don't need friends. You need a good teacher. So I went to the meeting with David, and I had a very profound experience just listening to him. I wasn't used to listen to English speakers or anything. So, and especially not spiritual teachers. So I didn't fully understand all the thing he was saying. But there was part of me that did understand experientially. And I had this profound spiritual recognition of the light through him and the clarity through him. So I just said, I'm in fully, Spirit, guide me. And so after listening to David for a couple of hours, I was feeling like I had received the answers that I came for. And this was a whole weekend retreat. And I said to her organizer, I'm guided to go home now. And she said, no, that's not guided. That's the ego. She said. So I got confused because I was new to the course, and she was a 20-year student of the course. So I listened to her and I tried to stay, but I felt very confused. And the next day I got a chance to ask David directly about guidance. And I told him that the woman said I should stay, and David said immediately, no, should, it doesn't belong in guidance. Should is a word you should never use, he said. So
Yes,
I felt,
that's a very important topic, guidance. I was actually guided in talking about it in an episode. So it's worth talking about.
Yeah, actually, I would love to go in deeper into that in what he actually said to me with should and guidance don't go together.
Yes, that's very, very good topic. Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, to finish the story, so I did go home then after he had confirmed that it wasn't the guidance that I had felt. But I was so excited around having talked to him, and so even though I went home, so the next morning was the last day of the retreat, so I was so drawn to go back. So I drove all the way back, an hour and a half, to see him again. And I had another profound session where he invited me and everyone else to the Peace House in the United States, which felt amazing. And I told him afterwards, I think I would like to come to the Peace House. And he said, yeah, stay open, let's stay in contact. Then I went home. I was single mother. I was still in the psychology program, although after this experience, I just wanted to go full time with the Holy Spirit. I didn't want to confuse my mind anymore with surface university experiences and teachings that weren't true. So at the first lecture of that semester, was the fall of 2006, I went to the university, and there was a social psychologist there speaking, and they spoke about people who walk another path than the conventional. And he talked about people who walk in the flower beds rather on the beaten path,
Mm-hmm.
and how they succeed. They can succeed, and he talked so beautifully. And through the whole lecture, my heart just was pounding, and I felt that he was talking about me, and I felt it was about me leaving the university and leaving behind, the conventional, what you should do to create a life, to have a career, to sustain yourself, to have a living and have an identity, have something that you can offer and be helpful with, being a psychologist. And so leaving all, I was called to leave all that, and this was the time. And so at the end of that lecture, I stood up and told the professor and the whole class that this is the last time I'm here. I'm one of those people who walk in the flower beds. Thanks. so there was, there was a deep fear that gripped me from kind of, I felt like I wasn't just saying goodbye to the university and the education and all of that. I was saying goodbye to the world, the way we are taught to live in the world.
Yes.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. I was led to share about that too. Yeah, it's a beautiful topic of how we are become the stable place the world comes to, rather than the other way around.
Yes. Yeah, because we start to feel and experience we are mind, and the world is in us. The world does come to us
Yes.
to be released, kind of, or we release our own beliefs through handing over the world as we perceive it.
Yeah,
To
we
spirit.
become aware of our nature, of our nature being love, and therefore
Yeah.
we can allow these things to love.
Yes, that's it. And I'm drinking from a cup that has a course quote on it. It says, "Teach only love, for that is what you are."
Yes, it's a very, very profound teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The fun thing is, it's not demanding that you be perfect, because you already are. So
Exactly. We can perfect ourselves, and we don't have to.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that's the
just need
beauty
to
of it.
find and remove the obstacles to it in the experience. So, yeah. So after that day at the university, when I said goodbye to everything of the world, symbolically and specifically to the psychology program, I went home, and I didn't have any other plans, of course. So I didn't know what to do other than read the course, sit on my floor, and pray and meditate. And I took long walks and talked to spirit. And for 3 months, this went on. And I said no to the world. I said no to people who wanted to connect with me, and to family, and I just did what I needed to do. I was a mother. I had my 9-year-old son, and taking care of him. But he was at the age he loved being with his friends, and he loved being with his dad. We were divorced, and so it gave me a lot of time to be with God and to go deeper. And I did go deeper. I had lots of mystical experiences at the time, like expansive experiences. but constantly I had this prayer of show me something greater, show me where I'm supposed to be, show me who I'm supposed to be with. And there was a deep call to find mighty companions. The course talks about the mighty companions. And
Yes.
I had this sense that there was a light, or I was kind of, my prayer was like a light beam stretching out from me. And I was hoping they would see it. Something like that was going on,
Okay.
and yeah. Yeah, and then in November that year, I received an invite, not through A Course in Miracles, but through Transcendental Meditation, to go to Fairfield, Iowa for a year and do TM City for 8 hours a day. And so I had been on the TM path for a while, so which had kind of led me to the course, but I was still very much drawn to meditation. And when I received that invitation, I thought, this is going to be completely healing and enlightening to go and meditate for a year for 8 hours a day. So I wanted to say yes to that, but being a mother and having that responsibility, that was just kind of, that was off the table. That felt like the trickiest thing, so I dropped that idea. It was so strong. It was the only thing I wanted to do, but I felt like I had to drop that idea. But the spirit had other plans for me. So when I dropped that idea, I felt so lost and so in the void, in the unknown. And I just sat down on my bed in my house and was feeling like there is nothing. I was depressed, probably. I felt there is nothing to do, but sitting there for a few hours, there was a presence that suddenly came into my room, into my being, into my experience, and the presence appeared. There were two light beings appearing, two angel beings that appeared, and they were in my room, although they were bigger than my house. They were huge, and they were filled with love. Their whole being, their whole presence was love, and they answered all my questions through a very, very, very smooth communion. It wasn't with words. It was higher and more clear and more real than the way we communicate in the world. It was direct, and they answered all my questions one by one, and then they said, now let us tell you why we are here. You're going to go on a journey, and we are so grateful, they said. And those light beings, it was profound because they were my parents in their higher self. They were my parents in truth. I recognized them.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after they were gone, I was so happy. I was so strong and elated and clear. And I felt that I knew what I needed to do. There is one thing I needed to do, and nothing would stop me now. I was going to go to Fairfield, Iowa, to the Transcendental Meditation Center. My son was going to move to his dad, and so I got so clear that I had to follow my path to heal my mind, and there was no responsibility of the world that was more important than that. And I saw that, I learned that just because those light beings were my parents' true selves, because the Course in Miracles teaches us that we don't see who our brother is. We see, and the Bible says it too, we see through a darkened glass. Our projection show us a world, a perceptual world that isn't true. It's completely built from our beliefs. So I I realized that the parents I lived with in my world, the parents I grew up with, were not the same as those light beings. The perception I had of my parents was so distorted that I didn't know who they are. So I needed to go on a spiritual journey to go within, to release all my beliefs, to see all my beliefs, and learn who I am and who everyone really is. So it was so obvious. Even the responsibility of being a mother couldn't hold me back and wasn't supposed to hold me back, because even that is a concept and a role that is way too small. That is also like the relationship with my own parents is the same as the relationship with my own son, the same as all special relationships in the world. And when we come to this point of looking at all our beliefs and all the concepts that we've been clinging to, when we are ready to let go of the roles and become truly helpful, the path will open. And so it did for me. And my son was taken care of, which was beautiful to know. And it was healing for me to let his dad take care of him, to not think I'm the best one in the world to take care of him, but to give that trust to someone else. So that was very, very deep and very powerful step. And then I was brought onto this journey that just went deeper and deeper and deeper. I went to Fairfield, Iowa, to the Transcendental Meditation Center, but I was only there for 3 weeks, and I was then clearly guided to leave and go to the Peace House in Cincinnati, where David Hoffmeister was, and start to collaborate with him on a very deep way that started a healing process that would undo my ego belief system.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very controversial decision when one comes to the way one usually views things. So yeah, you made a step that most thought systems that we're used to, the ego thought system, would view as very irresponsible at times, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I was told that by many people, how irresponsible I was and egoic and things like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be called egoic from
Yeah.
from that standpoint. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
let's look a little deeper. You've been talking about how you were leaving the world as you knew it, right? You saw the world. You said you needed to leave the world, and you named the university,
Yeah.
your family situation that you left,
Yeah.
and so on. And the question is that I would like to ask is, as we were saying, bringing the world to love, right?
Yeah.
How does that work in terms of all of this? Because many people who are into spiritual paths may be afraid of losing their way or losing touch with what they feel is reality. And the question is, what is reality according to A Course in Miracles? Maybe you would like to speak about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Reality has nothing to do with this world. And that is the most fearful step we will take, is to go into the unknown, is to leave behind the known, the seeming known, the perceptual and the familiar. But so A Course in Miracles says that at no single instant does the body exist at all, or the world. So it's remembered or anticipated. So we actually build the world from our past experiences and memories, moment to moment. We cling to it out of a fear, and there's a ring of fear in the mind. that is actually a ring of fear around this whole world. So, which, yeah, I had another experience a week and a half ago where I saw the ring of fear in my mind, and so yeah, so I, let's see what thread I shall go with here, but so I know that fear of leaving the world, and I feel like we are given these gentle, very gentle steps in this. So for me, it seemed to be a big step to leave behind the life I had in Sweden and the family and even my son. But I was ready for that step. And most people are not ready to take such a big step at once, like I did. But then there are smaller steps of handing over our relationships, and only the helpful relationships will stay. Only the helpful situations will stay. And with helpful, I mean helpful for our awakening, helpful for our deepening and our healing. Like when we willingly start a spiritual path and connect with spirit or God or love or whatever we call it, or our higher self or higher power, we this weeding process will start, where what's not supporting that will fall away. And if we have a lot of fear, we may try to cling to it and hold on to it, and we'll experience some difficulties. So I would say that the more we let go, the more willing we are to not hold on, the more safe we'll feel, actually, and the more, yeah.
Yeah, maybe some listeners would like to know about this, the question of this letting go or letting fall, right? Doesn't necessarily entail any specific changes in the dream, in the world, right?
Exactly. So that's what, yeah. So that can be guided changes, but most of the time, no. It's a letting
Because
go of the hook in the mind, of the um, hold. Like there can be this hold in relationships out of fear of loss or this
yes,
control behavior. So,
yeah, because the way you were speaking about it, people might have a feeling they have to give up what they're living now. While I've come to the conclusion that it's a letting go of the way we perceive it, the way we understand it, what we think it is, and not it doesn't always mean changes in your lifestyle.
yes,
It, it can change. It will change your experience, though.
yes, exactly. It will. And
So your example is one where very big changes in your lifestyle or with whom you were, or supposedly outer things were changing very rapidly, right,
yes.
in your life.
Hmm. But it's
And
rare. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it's sort of like I'm saying we can relax about that. It's you will know if that's the way for you, and if it's not, you will know which way is yours.
yes.
You will be guided very specifically.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Very,
it. And we can all just allow ourselves to follow our heart in this.
yes.
Yeah.
So it is, because if we get afraid of allowing ourselves to see who we are actually getting in the way of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's who you are is not dependent on outer circumstances. So your life or your experiences are a metaphor, more or less, of how you needed to experience it, right, in order to go deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. I see this. That was how I choose to play it out, so to speak. And for me, it was ideal, even that the light beings were represent, or they were my parents in truth, was very, very helpful.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must have felt very welcomed, very loved, without any conditions attached to it, without strings attached.
Yeah,
So you
completely.
actually could perceive yourself as a person who actually can experience that, who actually can see that as their own nature, right? To love.
Yeah, that is it. And I've been told, I felt that the call is for me to love. I feel we have different functions, and but yeah, this love that I've been shown that I am. Although after that experience, I still had to, it was like a glimpse of the truth, and it was like I had to go through the depths of the ego. Like I had to let the darkness come up and see what I am not.
Yes, that's a very important point.
Yeah.
I would love you to speak about that a little more, because that's exactly what I think we all go through when we get these glimpses, and we have to, and then the next step is to allow that to work its path through whatever we have been believing to be true, because we just got a glimpse of what actually is true.
Yeah. One of my functions here, I feel, is to let people know that it is. So I felt that it is safe to go through the darkness. That's what I was going to say. Because the glimpse of the truth, the power of the truth, the stability of the truth is enormous. Like, the truth is true, which means nothing can affect it. It is so wonderful. It's undescribable, and it is what we are. But so for me, feeling that, experiencing that, gave me the strength and the conviction that there is no piece of darkness that is too dark for me to face. I want to face it. I have so much trust in the light, in the spirit. The spirit gave me such a profound, the experience gave me this wisdom of who I am, and that trust that I invited the darkness to come up to awareness, and there was nothing that I didn't want to face. So I encourage everyone I meet to dare to go through the darkness, because it is dark. I mean, this whole world is depressed. Yeah, depression and fear and loneliness. It's strong. It's very strong things to go through, but these are the things we have to go through to see that they were.
Even facing the fact that we are allowed. What I was saying is the dark is something that we have been cultivating by listening to the ego voice, and to face that's what we need to face, so that we can change our mind about it.
Exactly.
And so that's something I think would be important to hear, how you did that. How did you change your mind when you got all these attack thoughts that you then probably realized were coming from your own listening to the ego thought system?
Yeah. So, we don't fully understand that it comes from our own ego thought system. That is the metaphysical truth, and that is correct. But when we're in it, we don't understand that. We do experience it as if it comes at us from the outside. That's like the nature of fear, is like it's projected. It comes, I mean, we feel it within, but the feeling is that something is so fearful, like the world is fearful, or our own self, actually it's our own self-concept that is the scariest place to be, because that is the representation that we are disconnected from our source. So in my own experience was like I felt so much trust when I came to David Hoffmeister. I felt so much trust in the spirit that I recognized in him, that I invited the darkness up to awareness. So after having been there for a while, the darkness came up, and I had been in a very, very high place of the light and the strength and the clarity of the spirit for a while, but then the darkness started to come up because I had invited it, and yeah, that was scary. I got very, very scared, and I wanted to become a little mouse hiding in a corner. And I wanted to try to run back to the past or run somewhere. I didn't feel like there was anywhere where I could run and hide, but I did run back to hide back in Sweden and back to the past, and that didn't work so well. But so I had a very scary period of time when I just I was just I was feeling very lost, like as if I had lost myself somehow. A psychic once told me, never lose the sense of self, never lose your self-concept, she said to me. And I felt like I had done exactly that. Like I had lost the sense of who I am, and I was lost in the dark somehow, and I didn't know what to do, and I was so fearful. So that went on for months, for many months, before I was ready to start to come out of that place and start to connect with Course in Miracles students again in Sweden, and then step by step with David Hoffmeister again too, the one who had given me so much clarity and support, but where also my fear came up, and I ran away from him. But when I was ready, I came back to travel with him and to live with him, and I never again left until I was until I haven't left the true connection with him, but I've gone through 13 years of training, I would say, until last year when I was ready to step out of even that ministry. So
Yeah, that's a very good description of it, right? So the trust came up in your metaphor. It was showing up as people that you trusted, right?
Yeah, I mean,
to allow yourself to let this all come to you.
Yeah, and I feel that's often how it works. Somebody who has gone ahead of us, who has gone deeper spiritually, they can be like a way shower that we're drawn to, and that if we are able to trust, if we feel the trust with them, that can take us really far, because just trusting the abstract spirit or God, that's beautiful too, and we can do that too. But to have a person, to have somebody that we can talk to and be around and share our fears with and ask our questions, that is such a speed up. For me, that was immensely helpful. And now I see how through the years, I've been that for many people myself.
Yeah, it certainly is. This developing trust is so important, and whatever shows up to help you is always wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's in form of people or circumstances or your own thoughts or the
Yeah.
what spirit is giving to you in order to
Yeah.
do that, because
Yeah.
it's obvious that A Course in Miracles wants us to engage with people.
Yeah.
At least
It
the
is
way
obvious.
it's taught in that way, at least.
Yes. And that took a while for me to find out. I studied the course for years before I realized that he talks about other people all the time in the course. Every
Yes,
page.
every
How you
page.
see other people. Yeah. What is your perception?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all about getting along with people, and even the reason the course came to Helen was about that, because they
Yeah.
wanted to find another way to engage with
Yeah.
colleagues at work.
Exactly.
So so actually the whole course is the answer to that question. How do we engage in the world from another way, in another way?
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it's even, I think, I feel the course is mystical for me. Like it is, it's not really about learning to engage with others, but it's about learning that I am not a person. I'm not a person that needs to engage with other persons. It teaches me that I am spirit. Spirit is my true identity.
Yes.
And
It
in that I will know the other as myself. Like it's mystical on that level.
yes, there's many parts of it, but the thing is that it comes to us as people who are living lives, even if that's not life itself, right? Life is the level of spirit, that which we actually are. It still comes to people who are in full bloom of believing that what the body, the world is real and is significant, and therefore this reinterpretation that is offered is what what allows us to wake up.
Yes.
And so that's actually a full engagement without engaging as a separate person in that sense, but actually
Yeah. Yeah.
disengaging from being a separate person,
Yeah.
but engaging with being at one with.
Yeah. It's an invitation to see everything as thoughts, as our own
Yes,
thoughts
yes.
represented. Yeah.
So the all aspects are covered in my way of understanding.
Mm.
The mystical, the everyday life, the yeah, all lifestyles are able to be lived um, with the reinterpretation of spirit, because
Yeah.
there's so many functions, and everyone has a function, and it's not can be replaced by anyone else. It's there for you, and
Yeah.
you're safe
Yeah.
in it. You're safe
Hmm.
with your function.
Yeah. That was one of the things I learned from yeah early on was that the course says my function, my happiness are one.
Exactly. Yes.
So because often we are hooked on to thinking we have a special function to do something, like we need to become something or we need to find our special function, and it is something,
Yes.
and but I feel we can relax a bit with it and know that our happiness is our function, and our happiness we find through forgiveness of
Yes.
our beliefs. So our function is happening in every moment. Our function is available in every moment where we can, forgive the littleness that we feel, or forgive the doubts that we feel, or forgive the anger that we feel, or the limitation, or the grandiosity, or whatever however we see ourselves and others in the moment. that's where we find our function, because we need to forgive that. It's a block to who we truly are, to beingness.
Yes, and that the forgiveness actually is an how do I put it? From this forgiveness, action is born, rather than from action, forgiveness becomes necessary. No, forgiveness engenders action, that things that appear like acting in the world.
Right, it can, yeah.
And in the process, we are fulfilling our function.
Yeah.
And it's all for our awakening, for our good.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we're taken care of. We are taken care of by the
We
Spirit.
are taken care of, yes.
The divine providence that is caring for us all in this world. We have many other beliefs, but we are taken care of. I hear to say that clearly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe you would like to give some examples from your life how divine providence works in connection with the understanding that is gained by knowing that we know nothing, right?
Yeah. So it's easy to talk about it in terms of money and possessions, and I'll do that. I didn't have a lot of money when I left Sweden. Even I was very poor. I didn't have. I don't know if I even had money for my ticket to go to America. So I went in complete trust, and ever since then, I have only worked in the world for a few months, like the year after, when I came back. So, so I've experienced that trusting the Spirit and following guidance have been what has been sustaining me, and it has, it inspires like what I need to come to me through through other people sometimes, or through, I don't know how Spirit does it, but it is inspiring the means to come, to come to me. And last year I experienced it in a great way, because I was guided to leave the ministry behind and leave my marriage and just go out in trust that and in this experience of extending, of being available for Spirit. So I left in August last year, and I have been guided to hold retreats and gatherings and stay with people and go. I think the main thing is I've been guided to go deep with people, to join with people, to join in mind so deeply that there is healing happening. And I didn't really know what it was going to look like, but I have never felt as cared for and as safe as when I left everything behind. Like I literally felt the safety and the care of the Spirit, not even in a form, not because I was given a place to stay or food, but just simply in spirit, in the moment, I felt, the care and the safety. So it was like kind of, it was, yeah, it came with me. But then there have been moments of some doubt where I thought, oh, will I have somewhere to stay? Will I have somewhere to go? And that has just deepened my trust in the Spirit and my prayer life. So, yeah. So,
So many people probably will be called to go deeper in the jobs that they have or
Yeah,
the lives that they have.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
may
That is.
so that's also a path that I think spirit is guiding people in.
Yeah, yeah. I feel it's a great opportunity to do that because often it doesn't feel fulfilling or um, because we are, there's such a habit of being on the timeline of living for the future and making money to get something in the future. But if we stop and pause and use our job or our relationship that we have right now and to see how can I go deeper with it, how can I hand over my anger and my blocks and my whatever emotions are there in the relationships, to see who I truly am and who they truly are, and how can I be used by the spirit in my job, in my situation.
Yes,
If we start to live that way, yeah, then we will have much richer experience of our lives.
yes. That,
Yeah,
yeah, it starts to glow, right? To shine,
yeah,
to take on a sparkle.
yeah, yeah,
One might say.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and then it will. Yeah, for some people, it comes at a point when it feels maximized, or when things change, even it can seem like things start to change in life. And I think, especially now in the world, there is like a big swirl happening, like as if a big pot is being stirred right now, spiritually and emotionally, and in people's lives, there is such turmoil happening, and things are dropping away, and things are shifting, and just for people to know, to not be afraid of the changes, but
yeah,
to trust and to. It's also the experience I had last week, when I said in the beginning, I saw the ring of fear. I actually had an out of body experience that lasted for hours, during an evening and a day. And I saw there that there is a fear of not being identified as personality, as as a person,
mm-hmm.
um, and I realized that because I touched upon the fear, I didn't feel deeply the fear. Like I feel like I have a strong connection with the spirit and who I am, so I felt quite safe to not be identified in the concept of a form and place. Um, but I felt the message that I wanted to share, that it is the fear can come up for people even at the point of death, leaving the body behind. There can be this state of fear, but the message that I felt to share was that you can move from stages, you can move from the state of fear into a more loving stage. Like even after you left the body, you can move to a higher place, so to speak. So that was an
Yeah.
experience I had. Yeah.
So what you're saying is one can relax into what is.
Yes.
So your life is one of a lot of um, apparently dramatical changes in the outside, right, or whatever one would call outside, even though there is no outside. And
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
but the message of A Course in Miracles is very clear that it's very gentle.
Yeah.
So no matter how dramatic it may appear, this story you are telling us of how you've went through these transitions, right? I
Yeah.
think it's important to make it clear that this is a gentle journey.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah. It is very gentle, and so my journey may look dramatic and like quick changes and many changes, but for me, in my experience, it has been so gentle, and it couldn't have been gentler, and it wouldn't have been gentler if it had gone slower, really.
Yeah. So
For
it's, so
me,
gentleness is not
yeah,
necessarily a slow, meaning that it has to be slow or fast, or it has nothing to do with the pace of life, right? Or changes in life.
exactly. It's more like it's perfect for where we are at. So, so there is a beautiful line in the course where Jesus talks about how you wouldn't wake up children that have a nightmare. You wouldn't shake them or wake them up abruptly. It would be a gentle awakening from the nightmare where the parent is like gently reassuring the child that it is safe and we are together. And so that's, yeah, because if you shake the child and show them reality, like that would be too scary. So it would, we would come into some kind of limbo place, I think. So
Yeah. So I would I think it's important to make it clear how calming, how gentle, and how relaxing, and how inspiring this guidance is by Holy Spirit, Yeshua,
yeah,
or the parent, right?
yeah,
Whatever metaphor fits for us. Yeah.
yes, how safe to follow it, and
Yes,
how,
how safe it is. Exactly.
because of not, it's the not following the guidance that is fearful, that makes us feel lost. So by
Exactly.
following the guidance, and we all actually have access to guidance, and many people doubt guidance, but it is this inspiration from inside, and often it is, can be challenging. It can be, we can be inspired to something that we feel is out of the box, but to trust and to try it out, I often encourage people to try it out, because you will see if it works, and the more you've tried, the more safe you will feel that it does work. And
Yeah. You will
yeah,
find out that it was true guidance by how safe it was,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
exactly, yeah,
if it wasn't true guidance, it wouldn't be safe. You
exactly, and
wouldn't
you
feel
can't go
safe.
wrong.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't you wouldn't get the conclusion it was safe to follow this guidance.
that's it. Yeah,
So you may
and you
have
can't go wrong.
this initial resistance, right? But when you do it, it always turns out safe,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and that's what's so important to realize, that it's actually a very gentle, calming, safe, and, how do you
yeah,
say, perfect step by step guidance for
yeah,
your own
yeah,
place, or time, or whatever you want to call it,
yeah, and it
for you.
only leads us. The purpose for guidance is to lead us to the relationship with the spirit, to lead us to the relationship with who we truly are, to the
Yes.
light, and that we feel this connection. It's not really about a form outcome,
No, it
being in the
gives.
right place, because that it can be scary to try to figure out if this or that is right, but guidance is specific, and it will lead us to places and peoples and events, but it is, the purpose for it is the relationship with God, or with the truth. So
Yes, it gives you back your own will.
yeah,
It's a
true
will
will.
that you have been ignoring, that is your
Mm-hmm.
own will. So it's actually giving you back what it already is yours.
Yeah,
So you will
yeah,
recognize it as your own.
yeah,
Maybe at the beginning, when you get these glimpses, you may think it's not you, because that's what the ego will tell you. The
yeah.
ego thought system, the thought of separation, because you have to be separate from something so wonderful, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the truth is, you are that. You are
Mm-hmm.
that wonderfulness, and
Yeah,
that is absolutely okay to be that wonderfulness, and still be processing all these misinterpretations that are fearful.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the the outcome of processing it all is the wonderfulness. So, yeah, we will know ourselves.
The outcome is certain. As
Yeah,
is stated in the manual for teachers.
yeah, yeah. I recently watched The Matrix, and again, and Neo, when he meets the Oracle, and she's like giving him time to tell her who he is, that he is the one. But he's like in the state of kind of asking somebody outside of him, about it. And she's like, sorry, kid, it seems like you're waiting for something.
Yeah.
But it's our own inner job, so to speak, to realize who we are. And nobody outside can.
Yeah, that's an important point, because today, Yeshua, or was it yesterday, had me post about imagination and truth. The question is, imagination and truth the same? And obviously, fantasy is not the same as imagination. And so imagination is limitless, and so is truth. So imagination and truth often appears as imagination in this dream world we have projected.
I would actually tweak that a little bit. I would say truth can use imagination. Like imagination, it's an interesting word, like image in. Image in, like it's still the perceptual realm where we project and perceive, but I would say the truth is beyond that. The truth is abstract, but it can use the imagination. It has to use it to reach us. So it can seem like that is the truth, but it is actually just a vehicle for the truth to reach us and bring us higher, away from imaginations. That's how I would describe it. I haven't read the post you're talking about, but
well, I think it's like truth and imagination are one, in the sense that we recognize truth when we allow the limitlessness of imagination to inspire us. Because truth is limitless, and therefore that's a reflection of truth. It's actually helping us along the way.
Yeah, Spirit has taught me to just stick to the Spirit. Like, if I stick to the Spirit, if I stay with the inner connection with the Holy Spirit and the guidance, that will take me anywhere I need to be. Yeah.
But like we know from before, we have accepted this experience as true, right? We would often criticize this as fantasy, as impossible, or you can't have it all. It's not yours. Well, imagination says you can have it all, and that's the voice of Spirit saying you can have it all because you already have all.
Yeah, for me in 2006, when I had this calling to go to America, people said, you're crazy. What are you thinking?
Yes.
And while I just, when I had the confirmation from the angels, I knew I had to follow it.
And many people would say, oh, these angels, were they visible to everyone? Could someone else see it? Or is that real? Or how do you know that that's correct, right?
Yeah, and that's where the mystical, metaphysical teaching comes in now, because the experience I had was more real than this world. And people who have had profound near-death experiences know what I talk about. Like,
Yes.
So, but people
Yes,
in the
it's
world that think what they see and touch is reality, you know, they don't understand it from
well
that
when they
perspective.
I think everyone has had glimpses.
Mm.
Whether they have denied them or not is another matter, because we aren't
Yeah,
always
yeah,
offered the full house, or however you want to, the whole full treasure house at all times is available to us.
yeah,
So these experiences where we know it's truer than anything else we've described as true or thought was true or been describing as reality, right? It's reality, right? The reality of this experience, no matter what someone else might say about it, right? Like, oh, that was a dream, or that was a vision, or you heard a voice in your head, or this, or in your heart, or wherever, right? The 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 thing is, you know it's true. You just know it, and
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
knowing that no one else can actually
Judge.
judge, because yeah, they can judge it, but they can't tell you whether it's true or not, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Unless they can have or they are willing to recognize it in themselves as well. Then
yeah,
they
yeah,
know, oh, yes, you're right, and
yeah.
that's comes through the venue of what many people would call imagination,
Mm.
and the ego would call fantasy,
Mm.
the ego thought system. They say
Yeah,
it's a fantasy, it's impossible, it's not real, blah blah. Reality has to be something dreary and unhappy and unpleasant, and has to have difficulties, and has to have triumphs, and you have to have some enemies. You have to be a hero. You have to be this or that, right?
yeah. The
And
timeline. The
and the
timeline is.
imagination says you are everything you would ever want to be. You are complete. You are whole. You are all. There is nothing lacking.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah.
Yes, and that's why I feel that it was a very good question. Is truth, is imagination and truth the same thing?
Mm.
Mm.
I'd still say no if you
Yes.
ask me directly, but I also don't feel inspired to go into discussion around words. And I can see how it is a way of seeing or a way of using what the ego made to, yeah, to open up to an experience.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
good. That's good.
yeah,
Yes, because the course says the words and everything was is created by this projection, this
yeah,
projecting of separation,
yeah,
and that spirit can use it all for our good, for
yeah.
returning home, to waking
Hmm.
up. So yes, that's how we're going to use it, and that's how we're going to understand it. So truth and imagination, on the one hand, are could be used to describe two separate things, but since there's nothing separate, we might as well accept that it's all there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
one thing that I just don't. Yeah, the spirit has taught me to use the words and use everything for the highest good. Like spirit wants to use it through us in a most helpful way, like everything. So even words, like how to use them, and yeah,
Yes, indeed.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I love it. So, hmm, so the gentleness of A Course in Miracles has shown
Mm.
through our experiences and lives is
Mm-hmm.
very, 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 very helpful, and I trust that our conversation is also helpful to
Mm.
our siblings.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Beautiful.
Stay on for a moment, and I'll say goodbye to our listeners. So, this was the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast with Monica Oberhuber and Jenny Donner. And I would like to thank you, Jenny, for joining in this podcast and
Thank you.
sharing your experiences and your life in a very profound way as an example of how Spirit can guide us through the most, what to many would appear controversial, but in reality was a very gentle path for you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if
Yeah.
anyone wants to stay connected with me, they can find me online too. I have a website. I'm on Facebook. So easy to find.
Very good. So anyone who wants to connect with Jenny, please search Jenny Donner and you will find her. Yeah, thank you for listening, and till next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.